Hi, Chris. Why don't you get started? And then I'll join in.
Great. The first thing then I'm going to start with is
Well,
just,
let's just welcome
yeah,
everyone
I was
to
just going to say that. Let's
yeah.
uh, formally, now that we're recording, welcome everyone to this week. Already February 21st, 2022. Hard to believe that we're there already. And what I wanted to start with is just first of all, a reminder to everyone that we do record every single one of these calls that we do for the live Monday calls, and we post them up on our YouTube channel. So you can find those there. You can find them through our website from www.masamicovey.com. And you can also catch up on past episodes of this call series, including some of the questions and answers that we've done a number of shows on that have had to do with supplements and different conditions, how to deal with COVID and all sorts of things, in addition to some of the topics like what we're talking about today, which is a lot to do with dealing with this sort of influx of old patterns that are sticky and don't want to let go of us. And sometimes we don't want to let go of them. So I wanted to just say that. And then the second thing is just a reminder to everyone that Masami's interview with John Burgos on the Beyond the Ordinary show is tomorrow. That's Tuesday, the 22nd. And the time did change. We've noted this in some of the announcement emails that have come out, but it's going to be 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern time for North America. Okay, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll put up the link a little bit later in case you didn't see that email. Okay, I think that's what I've got for announcements. So Masami, take it away.
Well, welcome and good to see you all. Sorry, I was coming in a little hot again. So one of these days, I'm just going to be like smoking, like the smoke will be coming off of me. Boy, or my hair would just be all on fire. But I wanted to make sure Chris put the link up for the John Burgos' show as well. And I am actually kind of excited that it's going to be airing early. So this means for those of you that in the UK or in Europe somewhere, you don't have to stay up till 2 a.m. to watch me live. And you get to come on and ask me questions in the middle of like at least today, right? In the evening. So not crazy late. So I'm excited about it. So please do show up and ask questions. If you've watched me and John go back and forth, we kind of like kindred spirits, but we play in the sandbox together. We go lots of back and forths together. So come and ask me questions. I love questions. And then in fact, I'd like to have some of your questions that maybe I can answer too. I did receive a couple, but I wanted to start with what I sent a week before. So on Valentine's Day, where I shared my 5 things that I love about myself. And love is a kind of a strong word for me growing up in another country, Japan. And it's really hard for me to go down that road of like love too quickly, but something that you adore about yourself, which I've been talking about, how to adore you and how to like yourself a little bit more than yesterday, kind of a practice. So I've mentioned 5 things that I do love. I use the word love, but it's like what I admire and I adore and I get intrigued by. It may sound kind of strange, but I get intrigued by who I am. Sometimes I'm like having a conversation with myself, and Chris sees this a lot, but I will be talking to myself a lot. And I'll be like, what? Is that what you think? And then I'll be like, yeah, that's what I think. And then I'm having these internal conversations all the time. And in fact, that I was up in the mountains and I spent a night by myself and I unplug, no Wi-Fi's. Really, I sleep in a pretty cold room, try to kind of connect with the elements of what's going on without excess lights. Really tune into drinking like water that comes from the ground up. So spring water and things like that to kind of reconnect with my own elements. And I think what happens, and then I'm jumping a little bit, but I will come back to the conversations with yourself and what you adore about yourself and what you admire about yourself, what intrigues you about yourself. is that I get intrigued when I unplug and I get to have a conversations with myself. And then when I'm under the starlights and moonlight, and I'm drinking the spring water as often as I can, there's something that recalibrates in me and purges. Okay. And one thing that I feel, and I was going to go somewhere with this where, let me tune into it again, but it's just like I get to rebalance my elements. Okay. So in Chinese medicine, we have 5 elements. Certain different school of thoughts only have 4 elements. It doesn't really matter, but you get the point. You know, there's the earth element, there's water element, there's the ether, and there's the metal or the fire, and so on and so forth. But what happens when you unplug and then when you do go to sleep at night, you are not just unwinding yourself, but you are unwinding yourself. And I'll go into that a little bit more. So what that means is that most of us live in a world that is like wind is blowing a lot all around us and within us because we're overly informed these days, overly stimulated. There's so much flow and influx and changes that it really impacts the Vata element. So if you are familiar with the Ayurveda, it's the Vata element of who we are. And so at night, it's so important that you start your evening practice a little earlier, get a little bit grounded, but not in a way that's like rooting, but it's like, how do I take in the earthly elements from the ground up? So you kind of pull in that elements back in and unwind, meaning unwind yourself. And so people like me who tend to have a Vata Pitta, you know, so I'm fiery and then I got the wind. It gets a little bit overwhelming, and a lot of empaths get to be a little overwhelmed by the blowing of information and blowing of sensations and things that are coming at us. And I have been feeling so much of that this month. And I love to hear not only what you adore about yourself, but also what are you experiencing? Because I tell you, I think what I am experiencing, I have been for the last particularly 2 weeks, is no longer just like, you know, 5D 2.0 kind of thing, or, you know, going from 3D to 5D, the shift in quantum. I mean, maybe all those things are happening, but there's a more of a purging that's going on. The things that I'm getting rid of is just, it's brutal at times. And I just want to be honest, you know, it's just because I'm here sharing, this doesn't mean I got it all solved and figured it out. No, the wind has blown so fast and so fiercely. I'm not ungrounded. My roots are still there, but I'm swaying a lot. And emotionally, it makes me kind of choke up a little bit because it's been very, very stressful. Lots of that old crud, you know, so I call it the yuck, muck and yuck started coming up. So I'd love to hear what your yuck and muck are. You know, for me, it's, it's more of a self-judgment. It's been so yucky. I've been trying to put a top on it, but there's a saying in Japanese, you know, kusai mono ni futa o suru. What that means is that you're trying to put a top on things that's already composting and it stinks. So it's like, no matter how much you put the top on it, the stink is going to come out. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to not put the top on it, put the filter and try to put the top on. That's what I was doing, changing a filter. But what I did was I just opened the top and said, what's up? What you got here? And it's requiring a lot of this Finnish word, sisu. And because I lived in northern Minnesota, some of you might know the word sisu, S-I-S-U. It's a Finnish word, but it's like your endurance, your stamina. And I even wrote down some of the terminologies, but it's a tenacity, it's the grit, it's the bravery and resiliency through adversities that come your way, but also from within. That's the wind that I've been dealing with. It's not the wind that is external so much for me right now. It's an internal stirring up. And I'm like, wow, I already dusted this off months ago and it's still dusty. There's a little shocking amount of dust that has come up for me, the yuck and muck. So sisu is a strength of will, determination, perseverance in the face of adversity, but it's not about momentary courage. So like momentary courage to say something, or you want to connect with somebody and you muster up the courage to call somebody. It's not like that, but it's the ability to sustain that courage. So it's to sustain your own knowing and to open the top off of that things that's stinking inside you and to go, okay, what you got to tell me here? So it's been draining. I would say that's why I needed to be alone. And Chris sensed that too, that I needed to be alone. And not because if I'm with Chris hanging out, I'll be like, oh, let's just go watch the Olympics, let's go do something else. Let's go watch the Apple TV, whatever. But I didn't do that. I really unplugged and went into the darkness. And before I hand it over to Chris, it's been interesting because I've been invited to several interviews and I've been pushing this idea that why darkness is important, especially now in the environment that we're talking so much about spiritual enlightenment and chasing light and having lightness in you. This is probably the most important time that you actually tap back into the darkness, because we live in a culture of ascension. And in some ways we're addicted to ascension. So what I mean by that is that we're addicted to ascending and seeking for that light, reaching for that light in everything from our health. It's like, when do I get healthy? When do I go back to how it used to be? When can I become how I used to walk 5 miles and I want to be that way? Or after COVID, when do I get my energy back? Well, I don't know. It might take some time. So can you practice the endurance, the sustained stamina to say, I don't know, but I will build on my faith and my trust. And I'm not talking a religious faith here. I'm talking about faith in you. That is the endurance that what we are being called to look into. As the light intensity goes up, which is, I know it's true, the more the yuck and the muck are going to be exposed. Okay, I'm going to say that again. More ascension we journey into, which all of us are, there's a collective ascension is happening. There's a collective enlightenment. The light is we're entering into a different realm. More of your darkness, more of your subconsciousness are going to be exposed. So then what are you going to do about it? You're going to just continue to ignore that and then look towards the light because that's where you need to go. I think we need a little bit more sitting back and saying, what if I opened it up and looked at it? Because the darkness is not the darkness of the tomb. Okay, everyone, it's not the darkness of the tomb, but it's the darkness of the womb. And the womb gives you the birth, the birthing of your true essence. We all came from the darkness. Not a single one of us came from like brightly lit, LED lit space of the birth canal, birth space. It's dark. It's so dark and it's silent and it's stillness. Yeah, there's some movements, obviously, right? But in general, it's this dark, dark space. That's where you came from. So it's calling on us. It's inviting us to reconnect with that darkness, maybe the stinkiness of who we are. It's the place that we don't want to go and smell it. But that's where the potential is, right? That is where the possibilities lie. And so don't hastily open up the chrysalis, dig up the chrysalis and say, hey, what you got doing in the grounds here? Let me help you out. Let me help you your progress of becoming a butterfly quickly. So you go and tear apart the chrysalis. And I don't even want to bring that image for sensitives like us and empaths. But if you go quickly and trying to encourage the chrysalis to become productive butterfly, okay, you are not going to see the butterfly, because productivity and always ascending and always having a stock market that keeps going up and then things that just going to completely always improve. What you put out there, you're going to be able to manifest tomorrow and you're going to heal tomorrow. I think we need to just push a reset button. And the last thing I wanted to say is that I was reading an email that came. It was something about kind of a spontaneous healing type of book that's getting written. But I was reading it a little bit deeper because this book author mentioned about one of the case studies. And he said this person was prostate cancer stage 4, and he was only given 6 months to live, but he worked with the functional medicine and he worked on his health. And in 2019, he was able to reverse it. So then I thought, that's not spontaneous. 14 to 2019? That's 5 years of hard work this person did. We really need to remember that. Is healing possible? Yes, absolutely. Can you reverse your diagnosis? Absolutely. I've done it. Can Chris reverse did he reverse, and can he able to reverse it, his injury of breaking his spine in 4 places so that he can sit up and join us in this cult? Absolutely. But it's taking him 25 years to get here. So, if we as spiritual beings are talking about time, space, they don't exist, and then the time doesn't exist, the linear time doesn't exist, then we need to get out of this concept that the spontaneous healing is something that happens because you did a call with somebody, just because you did some kind of a video course on it that you should have the next morning. You're just like, hey, miracle. Maybe, I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but there's a lot of hard work. The sisu has to come into it. The sustained endurance. So that's what I wanted to share. And so, if you've been feeling like there's a lot of just the purging going on, welcome, because I want to welcome you to join me, to not be afraid of that. Let's hold each other's hands and say, let's leap together, and not leap upward. But what if we walk down together, not wake up together? But what if we wake down together to descend into the depths of who we are and de-emphasize this idea of ascension and waking up? To me, that has just too much pressure. I'd much rather go into this and take the journey inward much, much deeper, because there's star systems that are waiting down there for you. There are rivers and mountains and the deserts and all creatures waiting down there for us. Our brain weighs about 3 pounds, but your gut microbes weigh about 3 pounds too. So we have so many creatures that we can discover and get to know, and to get to know the heart brain, gut brain, and the microbial brain, and our brain. There's just so much. So, and then I keep saying one last thing, but darkness is the underbelly of your consciousness, and we can't bypass We cannot bypass the darkness. And by going into waking down into your darkness, you open your second sight. Your second sight, your clairvoyance, really opens up when you go down into the depths of the darkness and stay there just a bit longer than you're comfortable. You will feel like you want to get out. But then what if you took 3 extra breaths in that darkness? What would happen? So there's some comments coming in, Chris. So let's
do that. But I wanted to first of all just say wow to you for a second, because all of you may not know this, but even though Masami and I are in close proximity to each other a lot of the time, so much of what goes on in our own heads, in our own thoughts, inside of our own hearts gets processed separate from each other. And so sometimes these calls are where we get to hear all of that expression come out for the first time. And it's really exciting for me when that happens. And what you just said, that was really a powerful, just a whole series of perspectives that you shared. And I want to say the first feeling that I took away from that was this reminder of how much of a relief it is to feel like I'm allowed to touch that darkness. I'm allowed to engage with it without feeling shame or like it's something that I have to hide from or pretend isn't there, like you started with, putting the lid on it. And that is a game changer. I mean, that really changes the entire feeling of this, because we've been so conditioned by our culture to think about the dark and the darkness as frightening, terrifying, undesirable, something to flee and get away from. And so it's like this topic that Masami touched on of ascension, and how we have this, it's pretty much, if not borderline, it's full-blown addiction to this idea of self-improvement and to always getting better, always growing. But nothing in nature works like that. And this is, I know Masami's going to go into some great depth in her call with John Burgos tomorrow about this, so I don't want to give too many spoilers, but this is such an important time. I actually personally believe, and I know Masami does too, that this is the skill of today. I saw just in the chat, I'm going to scroll up a minute ago, I see several things came in. Barbara mentioned that I don't know is the most honest answer I can give now. And I really think that the skill of our day is to learn how to stay with what is, whatever that might be, instead of trying to accelerate into this kind of light speed escape velocity, to break out of what we are part of right now, to get away from things that are uncomfortable and unknown, and because of that are frightening to us. They challenge our very sense of survival. And that survival instinct throws us into this black and white kind of thinking, like Masami was prompting up for today's call, this idea of getting caught in these dualities of good and bad, right and wrong, up and down. The more we're operating from a survival place, the more we're locked into that type of thinking, not seeing the spectrum, not seeing the full scope of possibilities that are here for us, even right now. I mean, even if I challenge you, even after this call or even during this call, to look around and see if you can spot a few things that you hadn't noticed before. Something that's part of your life that you either looked over because it's so familiar, and so your brain made it unimportant, boring, mundane, or even something that's an opportunity that you may not be noticing, even if it's screaming right in your face. You might still be tuning it out because it doesn't match your expectations or your hopes or where you wish to see things go. So I've quoted before, one of my really important teachers had this line that has always stayed with me. And he said that no one ever won the battle against what is. No one ever won the battle against what is. So you can go ahead and try it. See if you can test your luck, and maybe you'll fare better than all of humans ever. But it's a pretty standard thing for us. That's not something that we need to put our energy into, because it's already given, it's here. So I'm going to say just a couple of other things, just responding to what Masami started with, just for a minute or so. But I want to add some context to this idea of ascension too, which is very similar to this idea of why we don't like to look at things like regret. There is a really good article that just came out in the Atlantic magazine not too long ago, and it was about regret. It was just a short article, but it made the point that regret is basically like life's school for us. It's an opportunity for us to slow down, reassess, and we actually do this amazing thing when regret is happening. We get to take the actual course of our lives, the way that we've understood them up till right now, and then we get to go back in time and imagine from whatever point that regret started from, some kind of alternate timeline. The what if I had only, if I hadn't made that investment, if I'd finished that college course, if I had taken that job, if I had moved or not moved, if I had not ended that relationship, whatever it might be. We get to hypothetically compare what's happening right now with this what if. And what that can allow us to do is gain some perspective. We can actually have some space to learn and see how can we move differently. And this is something, speaking of brains, that we know is that after about the age of 25 or so, we really have to change by recognizing what we can do differently. Not how can we do more of the same to get a different result, but what do we need to change in order to move differently, to adapt and respond to the situation. So for me, this all light all the time, or all ascension all the time, all self-improvement, all growth all the time, there's no room for rest. There's no room for learning. There's no room for reflecting and slowing down, because we're just shooting out from this cosmic cannon, trying to get somewhere other than where we are. So this is really an invitation to slow down. And I know for me, just like Masami, this has been a time of real, I almost said the word angst, but that's not really the right word. Just churn, internal churn. Because so many things are being shaken up and stirred up right now and challenged, tested. Is this really who you are? Is this really what you believe? Is this really what you want from your life? Those are the questions that are coming at me right now. And one thing I just also read very recently was a quote by Inaya Khan that says, and this might be a little strange to some of your ears because it uses the word religion, but I love how he uses it. He says, the religion of each one of us is to attain our soul's desire. Okay, the religion of each one of us is to attain our soul's desire. So when we're on that path of attainment, we're religious. And when we're off that path, we're irreligious, or he even says impious to ourselves. That's some strong language. So this idea of cultivating the religion of your own life is, again, that is the outcome of what we're talking about, the skill of what today needs, the staying with it. It's cultivating the ground that is yours alone and developing that in a way that only you can do. And that's why something we've been saying for years to people is become the expert of you, because no one else can tell you what that is. So I'll pause here. And
then, yeah, we could probably, read some of the comments. There's some great comments that are coming in, and thanks, Chris, for, we didn't get a chance to, I didn't see you much, I just said hi, and then we just came down. So, I wanted to mention one more thing that I think it's important as we move forward in 2022. the year of the tiger too, is not to kind of create a group. Like, I want to create this group. Let's put it this way. I want to create a group where we can allow our darkness to show up and to be able to share that part of us without fearing and without judgment. And because, darkness gives us the container to release. If you're always living in the light, you don't get a chance to release. So darkness actually holds that space for us to be able to purge and to release and to unload. And Chris talks about this a lot, and some of you have heard of this, but we are constantly living in this balance of loading and unloading, loading and unloading. But we're loading up so much right now that we don't have the safe space to unload. And if we do that, we are going to start fermenting inside our bodies. We're going to putrefy things inside there. And it's going to get rancid pretty fast inside when we don't get a chance to unload. Same with our poop, right? If you're constipated, that's exactly what happens inside your gut, right? So I wrote down some things here. So, none of us lack in traumas. We've all had our traumas, capital T's to little t traumas. We've had our own challenges. But what we lack in, particularly, I would say, in the Western world, in Japan, maybe these days are different, but when I was growing up, there was a lot of kind of a town meetings or nearby home get-togethers or, things like that we get to share our grievances and, maybe our joy too. But there's just a lot of like things you could spew out, right? That kind of space was held. But right now, so many of us have all these challenges and traumas that we carry, but we lack the community that creates the container for us to reflect back with each other. Listening, I don't even say no more, right? When's the last time that you feel like you were deeply listened to? When's the last time that you were heard? You were being heard. So this is darkness initiates us. It's an initiatory time. It's kind of it's not just a ritual, but it's a lot of the things, like all of us did not go through what Native Americans would go through, of being thrown into the woods and say, you know what, you come back when you can figure your life out, basically. It's that kind of a thrown into the darkness. We didn't get fed into the darkness. So we kind of skipped over that. We went through our lives, went to high school, graduated, maybe started working, maybe went to college, just kind of went along your life. And maybe some of you had the initiations, maybe in your own way. But I think right now we're collectively going through that. So please, let's do not rush this initiation 2022. And like I said, on the last live call we did this month, this is the preparatory year. This is, you are preparing yourself and as collectively to the next, I don't know what it is. And I would be very cautious of anybody that seems to know what next is. We don't know what it is, but it's certainly not going to be a copy of what it had been. And that tension, you're going to feel it all year this year. The breaking down of the past way of doing things, the government, the structures, the money, the educational system, you're going to see those things starting to break down. I mean, it already had, all those things are breaking down, but it's you're bridging to what is coming next. But let's not wait for the new to come to us. But what if you released some of this? What if you unloaded some of this? What if you opened the top and said, what is my subconsciousness saying to me? And, this image is a little bit hard for all of you, but it's as the iceberg melts your iceberg is melting. So your subconsciousness is actually surfacing. That's what's happening. It's what's outside, it's what's inside. What's inside is what's outside. I mean, this has been the lesson that we've been learning from thousands of years of spiritual teachers, right? Look outside and you'll see your reflection, and you see inside and you see the reflection outward. So the iceberg is melting, and it's melting in you too. So it's time that we collectively come together and create not just another group that you just sign up and show up and talk about. I don't know, I suppose you could talk about, what's your perfect lotion and potion for your face, for your anti-wrinkles. But we could talk about that at some point, absolutely, because I'm not always this serious, as you know, right? But I think it is important that we hold each other's hands. So let's take a moment. Just imagine all of us are just holding hands right now in circle. And then one by one, we're starting to see there's a bonfire, it's just like a huge fire, campfire in the center. But we stand there together long enough that that fire starts to dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. The darkness started to come over us, engulfing us. And there's no more fire in the middle, but we still hold hands together. And in silence and unison, we breathe together. Developing trust for one another, that we can go into the darkness together in order to truly wake up, but by going downward, inward, descending into the darkness of who we are. This is a rebirthing process that we're all going through in 2022. Let's bring all our hands together at the heart center. Remember the hands that you held on right hand and left hand. Bring those hands to your heart center too, not just your hands, but others. And let's respect each other's journey. That could look messy, could feel muddy and yucky. But we're doing this because the intensity of the light is increasing and it's melting who we are. And truly, the meaning of the namaste, as many of you know, bring that true meaning of the namaste to your heart. And let's bow towards each other. Namaste. Thank you.
I have a few things I'd like to add to what you said there.
Chris, before you do that, can I just read this one quote?
Yeah, please do.
Just coming from Helen Keller, so you can just imagine. She says, I would rather walk with a friend in the dark than alone in the light. I would rather walk with a friend in the dark than alone in the light. And I think that's what I was deeply experiencing, that I was trying to walk alone in the light in a name of ascension, in a name of light chasing, and realized that that's not the way forward. Masami, that's not the way forward. I'd much rather walk with all of you in the darkness. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that again. It's this is another one of the powers that we have, is community. And it's something I know personally, I am not very good at it. And yet it's such an important piece of being able to stand on our own feet. So there's a little bit of irony there, to need others to stand alone. And something that you just said, Masami, just reminds me of, it's so important right now for us just to stop and look at what is here for us right now, without even moving, without trying to get somewhere. Just look at what's already here. All of these things that we don't, I mean, we see them and we don't see them. The familiarity makes us blind to them. And yet there is so much blessing right in front of us, right in us, around us, surrounding us all the time. And what Masami said earlier about this being an initiatory time, an initiation, strictly speaking, is a beginning. It's a beginning of something new. We're in initiation constantly. When we stop and notice it is when it becomes of profound significance to us. It's those times where we pause, where we create rituals to hold the pause and recognize the new beginning that's unfolding. That's when it reaches that sacred, profound level. And yet it's unfolding all the time. You can stop wherever you are, whenever you are, and find that same sacredness right there. And something I mean, it's so in our culture right now, and I've had to really shake this loose for myself. It's this idea that we're all supposed to teach everything that we know to the world. You know, just whatever you know, teach it, monetize it. You're supposed to be something, do something, get bigger, get better, make more money, all of these things. And I know for myself, that's something I've struggled over this with this for years, trying to figure out what's my voice? What do I have to offer? And when there's so many other loud voices in the world that we live in today, there's so many people that are really good at being the loudest voice. And it makes us feel like we don't have enough volume, enough people to hear us for it to ever make any difference. But I want to flip this upside down, because I have to tell you, the spiritual tradition that I have learned most of my big lessons in teaches it this way. And that is that we're all born as teachers. And it's our job in life to learn how to become students of life, students of our own life, students of who we are. That's the real task. And the tool to do that is to stay with it, like we were talking about earlier. So the darkness, Masami mentioned earlier, she doesn't usually get this serious. I do. I'm usually the serious one of the two of us.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, a little bit. So it takes a little bit more for me to shake it up and laugh and get a little silly. Just lots of years of holding myself in pain and survival and injury and frustration kind of left me that shape. So it's something that, can I move in a different way? Yes, I can, but I have to practice it. I have to recognize that that's also an option for me. And, Masami and actually those of you that come on these calls or have been on some of the programs that we've done together, you might have seen a little bit more of that side of me, but I don't usually bring it out that much. So that's something that I'm working on too. But this idea of darkness, the unseen, the potential that is not yet in a form in the world, that's the darkness. So like on that quantum level of the quantum mechanics level, okay, it's like the universe exists as potentialities until we observe it and measure it, and then it takes a shape that we can recognize. So we're basically sitting in a field of darkness, and there's way more of it than light. And that's pretty exciting because there's a lot of unknown for us to discover. And so you've probably heard this from one or both of us before, to look at darkness as the light that we cannot see. Okay. And that's actually physically very real as well. I'm not going to nerd out on you about the physics of that right now, but that's a very real thing from the physics level as well. It's the dark is really the light that we can't see. We can't perceive it with our eyes. Our sensory capacities aren't really designed to take it in outside of the narrow spectrum that humans operate in. But there's so much more out there for us to experience than we know. So for me, it's partly that lightening up and having more fun right here where I am right now, and not trying to go somewhere else, become someone else, do that thing that Joseph Campbell said, climbing the ladder only to find out it's the wrong ladder for your life. That's not what I want to do. So I've jumped off the ladder, and there are a lot of weeds and bushes around me right now. So I have some bushwhacking to do, but I'm very excited to see where the jungle of my own space, my own life right in front of me has to offer. Okay.
Well, yeah. So let's just shake it out, everyone. Yeah. First of all, let's just shake it out. And if you want to do pandiculation, my favorite, do that. Make some noise. Yawn a little bit. Yawning is really good because it resets your neurons. Okay. Yeah. Shake it out. Maybe your feet too, legs. Good. Yeah. So thanks for letting us share this. I think as you release and purge and get rid of things from the darkness, you realize more space, your container you're making for the light to enter, right? So that's why you're doing it. Okay. And we'll continue with this topic too here and there. It just was interesting when I reached out with my topic of I want to talk about awakening through the darkness. Several of these people didn't want me to talk about it. They said, no, that's not the topic that's going to sell. So, but you know me, the rebel, right? So I'm going to be talking about the darkness. I don't care if they tell me not to. I'm still going to talk about it. Because all the reasons I already told you, because I want to walk in the dark with it together so that we can reach the light as collective, not just chosen few, because that's not what I'm interested in anymore. Right. So let's read some of these beautiful comments that are coming up. I love it. I want to welcome some of the new people here too. Thanks for being here, and thanks for showing your faces. Faces do not get recorded because it's just you, Chris, and me that you're going to see, unless you want to raise your hand and comment, which is fine. Raise your hand, please, but you will be recorded. Your face will be okay. Daniel says, it's okay that I was never walked into the darkness as a child, and I'm really effing tired of feeling I should be attaining and being somewhere else. I should be more, but not having that community in the physical right now for whatever reason, not always easy. Yeah, but it is okay. I know it's not easy. I said to Chris too, I said, even for I kind of like, I'm an introvert and then I do extroverted work, right? So for me, not having to travel to go to like workshops or doing the workshops myself, that's been really nice for me to kind of just pull back from always trying to do. But I am starting to miss the connections for sure, like physical connection. Chris, you want to read other things too that have come up? They're beautiful things that are coming up.
I'll just read one from Barbara. She says, there's no path to self. We are there. We just have to be still to realize we are there and we are enough. And I want to comment back to Daniel too. Thanks for sharing that, because, a lot of people have this experience of not knowing how to contend with this, what we're talking about. I mean, really, who does? We're not born as masters of dealing with the darkness. I mean, it's something that as little kids, we basically, people tell us what to do, and we're told, okay, be more like this, be more like this, be more like this, and we say, okay, okay, okay. But then as we get older, we start realizing, well, wait, hang on a second. The way that everybody told me to be doesn't work for me. Like somehow I got left out of that whole equation. And so we have to, it's that chrysalis image again. We have to first of all wrap ourselves up in this vulnerable little sack and then start turning into juice and changing into something completely different. And that takes time, and it's scary. You have to hide away. If you've ever seen a chrysalis, like out in your garden or somewhere, they're usually somewhere in a dark, hidden place where they can be safe. And if you pick them up and give them a little squeeze, they'll wiggle. They'll try to get away from you because they're not done yet. They're still needing to complete their work, and they don't want to interact with anything yet. So this whole thing about finding your path through the dark, back to the sunlight, and then back again. It's a cycle that you start to learn and become. You may not love it, but you become friendly with it. You learn that it has a beauty to it that you couldn't get any other way. So anyway, thank you for sharing that. And this, the community of this group is one that Masami and I really love and appreciate. And it's not in person, but it is so energizing for us to see your faces and to see you come on here and engage, even though we're doing most of the talking. So anyway, I'll stop and let's
keep reading. There's so many comments. So not that I don't love hearing you, honey.
Well, this is how we have to talk to each other sometimes. So sorry, everyone. This is how we it's like, hey, did you do the laundry? Because anyway. All right.
Okay.
So I'm going to read one from.
We love you too. We love you too so much. Thank you. Yeah.
So Lynn says, I'm having many highs and lows each day. One day I'm bubbling up with greatness coming in and feel so much excitement. And the next day I'm so exhausted I can barely get stuff done. I can't tell if it's mine or others around me, but it's been really heavy at times. Well, I can say here on that one. That seems to be in the air, in the water. Yeah.
Stay with it. Stay with it. Like extra breaths and really sink into that discomfort. Just don't shy away from discomfort, because how would you know what comfort is if you don't know what discomfort is? So
not to mention discomfort is by definition the time when your brain is open to learning new things. Okay. It's when the circuitry opens up and allows for new experiences to come in, for new ways of operating to get formed and linked up in your neural pathways.
I love what Claudia said, into the womb, the primal drumbeat. Yes. It is a primal space. That's where we're going in, isn't it? We're in the primal mother right now. All things deep that gives us birth. So I don't know. It's excitement isn't the word, but it's definitely, I'm intrigued by this womb, the darkness of the womb right now.
Well, it's like you said before.
I'm checking out the space right now. Yeah.
It's like you said before about, as we're going into this darkness, it's not something that's forever either. That's what we have to remember. But the thing is, when we are all firing from our survival mode, basically we lose the ability to say, this too shall pass. That's just how our nervous system works. When we are in survival mode, the black and white dualistic thinking, good, bad, right, wrong, that's when we get stuck and we can't see our way out. Okay, so that's a sure sign that we're operating from a survival place, is if we can't say to ourselves, and really feel at least somewhere a little just pinprick of truth in this, that this too shall pass. Whatever this is will eventually transition into something else. A new initiation will happen. A new thing will come out. And so that's something just to pay attention to that. And if you can't feel that, that's a good way to get back into your body and do what Masami said earlier, practice with your breath and settling in, and practice feeling safe within yourself.
Well, and then I think it's like a step by step, everyone. So like, don't, I mean, I guess you can nosedive into the darkness like I do, but I wouldn't recommend it to too many people. I think just step by step, kind of get your toes in there, start to get used to the temperature of the water and breath by breath. And then you just kind of resettle, right? When Chris and I go on the hikes and things, I say to Chris, I'm like, okay, my heart needs to recalibrate. And then we take a moment and just catch our breaths, and then we go up again, right? So it's kind of like the same practice going down. And I wanted to read Susanna's comments as I'm in the same space. I thought I will not do this call for that reason you are expressing. My intuition took me to take this call. I'm glad now. So I get this comment a lot, and in my private practice, is that because I work with a lot of very intuitive and channeling mediums and sensitives and empaths. And, those are all the labels that at some point, maybe we will not even label ourselves as that, maybe just call it human beings, or maybe, spirit, soul beings. But I get this comment, like, I don't want to talk about negativity. I don't want to talk about the darkness at all. Can we just talk about the light? And can we talk about love? And can we talk about, and I say to them, no, I will not do that. And if that is the person, that's the kind of work that you're looking for, I'm definitely not the person that you want to work with. Because like all the things that I shared with you today, because of these reasons, we are equipped to, you are strong enough to go into the darkness and share the space with others. So I'm glad, Susanna, you came and you didn't skip over this call. Because whenever I write things like that, and some people say, I'm not showing up till you do a more of a light topic, I might just go deeper and deeper this year, everyone. So how's that, right? If that's what I did, will you still show up? Yes, please. Okay. And Diana says, one thing I really notice is that the dark once acknowledged is intense, and it clears much, much faster. One day is like a week, and then the energy clears. This group is a tremendous gift. Yeah, if we could do it together, it will clear, but we can get into the depths of it too. So it's not just one clearing, right? There will be another layer. There will be another layer. And it's okay. We don't know how many the layers are. So let's not even ask each other, how much more of this do you think we're going to be doing? I don't know. But I think the darkness is the invitation for us to get lost in it. It's okay to get lost in it. We don't know. And we've created a society that it's like, you should know, you must know. Who knows? And who knows this? Who's got the answers to this? And you seek out those people. But let's just stop that seeking mind from taking us into this craziness of loading up with more information. And let's just let ourselves be lost for a little bit. And it's okay. It won't last forever, everyone. I promise you. Yeah.
And there are always little signs to come back from being lost. That's one thing you can count on. Someone isn't lost who's around you, and you can follow their signs too. There are all kinds of things to lead us out of being lost, but being lost is actually an incredibly generative state. I mean, it is very soothing to the soul to be lost a little bit every now and then. I'm going to read a couple more comments. One from Erlene. She says, also, it's important to realize that if one helps the butterfly come out of its chrysalis, the butterfly will die because it didn't gather its own strength through the birthing process to survive. Generally, they will never fly. So yeah, we have to, sometimes what it takes as a community is to know when somebody needs time, when they need that space to be lost, and to be in an inward looking state. But to get to that same point, there was a question from Mary that said, by discomfort, are depression, anxiety, apathy definitions of some of these discomforts? And yes, it could show up as any or all of those things. Because what those, each one of those things, depression, anxiety, apathy, those are all signals from our life through our body telling us that something is out of balance. Something needs to change. Something that we have been repeating for a long time is not serving us. So it's really an invitation, even though we tend to lose sight of that, because that form of darkness is very, very narrow in its scope. We stop looking outside of it. So I would encourage you, Mary, and anybody else who might be in that same state. Here's a little homework assignment for you. Go outside when the weather permits, or maybe when it's freezing cold and storming, that's up to you. But dress appropriately and go out for a walk. But I don't mean just like a walk for exercise. I mean a walk in the form of what we would call following beauty. Okay, so what you do is you simply wander, you meander, you let your eyes and your senses fall on things that stimulate that sensation of beauty, which is somehow a combination of surprise and awe and wonder and wordlessness. And so let things speak to you. Let them show you where they are and how they're there for you in your life, in your immediate environment. It could even be, if you have a really adoring pet, it could be just looking into that little person's eyes and getting that connection. Okay, but follow the beauty. Let it draw you out of yourself and show you that you're not just stuck in a little corked bottle that got lost in the ocean somewhere. Okay.
Well, and Mary, one thing that has helped me a lot is to tell myself that I can't fall any further than this earth. That's what I've always said to myself. When I feel like I'm falling, I'm not able to get back up, I say to myself, well, at least I can't fall any further than this earth. So there's that trust there. There's that ground that will hold you. And to me, it's part of being a human being is to go through depression. It is to feel anxious and fearful. You get to feel them. Isn't it amazing? Isn't that amazing that you get to feel them? That is the sign that you're alive. You're alive, Mary. And you're alive, all of you. Mm-hmm.
And you all have, you're all like the message in the bottle, that image I just used. Okay. Yeah. The message that you're looking for is in the bottle. Okay? It's in your bottle.
That's
so
right.
Whatever it is that you're looking for, you've got to open up your own bottle and get in there. You need to look at what that message is trying to tell you. That thing that you're looking for starts in you. It's not a question of going out into the world and bringing it back into your life. It's about how do you reach into yourself and bring it out into the world.
Yeah, I think we needed to have this conversation. Thanks for that image too, Chris. I think in the last 2 years with the pandemic and everybody stuck in our own house with Zoom calls, and that has opened up so much for me because I wouldn't have been able to connect with any of you if that didn't happen. That wouldn't have, I would have just been having my own private practices here in Denver area, and maybe that's it. But the fact that shutdown made me go out. But I think we need a reset this year, everyone, from that also, because there's just been a little too much coming in from the external stimuli that we've forgotten what it is to listen to our internal message that is hidden in the bottle. So this is why I often say, bring silence back in, bring quietness back into your life, stop signing up for all these things. And also, when I was driving back from the mountains today, I was kind of saying to myself, and joyfulness, fun, happy stuff. Remember the several months ago, we did the joke Monday, like we just shared each other's jokes. That's what we have to do one of these days again, just laughing through the darkness, because we get to hold each other's hands and walking through. So really bring laughters back into you, and that deep laughter that comes after a deep cry. We've all felt that, right? We've all been through that. Just a deep sadness and cry. And then afterwards, you let that all come out and you begin to start belly laugh. Have you ever had that? Yeah, that's where we will go together this year. Let's make promise to go there together. Yeah. There have been so many other comments. Let's just read a couple more and then let's wrap up, because we are way over the time. Sorry, everyone, but we will definitely do this again.
Well, let's read a couple of thank yous. Mary says, thank you both so much, Chris and Masami. I treasure your brilliant words and ideas. Love you guys. And we love you back.
Yeah, and then there were several more above that too, Chris, that soul growth. So Daniel says soul growth. Even if in this lifetime I never attain my soul desire, that is okay. Even if I never fly, that is okay.
That's where the message in the bottle comment came from. So Thank you for sharing that one. And thank you for everyone who comes on and shares comments.
But you know what though, Daniel, you might become the best swimmer ever into the deep part of the ocean. So you could be the mermaid hidden behind that, so forget the wings. That's a little overrated. I mean, yeah, the sky's kind of cool, but you know what? I want to be a good swimmer that goes and explores the depths of this life. Okay. So I'm swimming right next to you. I hope you can feel it, Daniel. Yeah. And I wanted to read Deborah's comment. It says, I so appreciate being here with you, and thank you for expressing your jewels of hopeful, reassuring wisdom. Exactly the medicine needed right now. Exactly the supplement you needed right now, while in this current space of darkness, and helping to remember the light forever shines and is waiting. Yeah, and it's darkness is the light you cannot see, right? So the light is already here. But let's just get used to the darkness, because the darkness actually will begin to shine, shimmers. Darkness isn't just this flat black color. There are many shades of gray in that. So let's explore that. Yeah. Anything else, Chris? Thank you, everyone. Yeah, thank you. And let's, if you can, show up for John Burgos's call tomorrow live, because I want to see many of you and I want to answer as many questions as I can. And I'll be talking about the darkness, hopefully. And I'm going to talk about the moon, the rhythm of the moon. So the moon started to talk to me November 19th last year after the lunar eclipse. Moon has asked me to be a spokesperson for the moon right now. So I said, all right, I raised my hand, pick me. I'm going to be the spokesperson for the moon. So I'll be talking about the cycles of the moon in the darkness. And that's what I will be talking about tomorrow. So come along and ask any questions you like. And I know I got some questions about like blood sugar things and the magnesium thing I was supposed to answer today, but I'm sorry, I'm going to hold off on that till the next time. Okay. And if you guys really like this, you want us to continue, let us know, because we are making decisions like how often should we bombard people's emails, right? So I know it says there's too many emails coming in, but maybe like twice a month or something, if that's doable for you guys. Yeah. At least once a month is what I'm thinking. So let us know. Okay. mybreatheinc@gmail.com is our email. mybreatheinc@gmail.com. And it's not my breath ink, everyone. I called to order supplements, and this lady answered. She said, "Oh, your email address is mybreathinc.com." And I just started cracking up because I just woke up, just had my cup of coffee, and I said, "You do not want to smell my breath at this point." So no, it's mybreatheinc@gmail.com. Okay. All right, everyone.
One final thought, really quick. Follow Beauty between now and next time. That's your homework. Report back, because as a community, we are all smarter and better and more complete together. And so what each one of us learns and develops within ourselves adds to all of us. Okay, so bring something back. Even if you're silent, you don't share it next time. Do that within yourself, because you'll still have a ripple effect on the rest of us.
Okay, sounds good. Bye, everyone. See you soon.